think Omaha is kind of catchy.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luke Robinson. That's Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, and this is Locked On Bama. Thanks for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network there is. You guys are the best. Sorry we're late, but Jimmy went to the baseball game, and we wanted to give him time to get back, and we wanted to have a definitive answer if Alabama's going to Omaha. And the answer is yes. Now, we will do the roster countdown in just a bit. We're going to talk about Tai Phillips. He'll be committing later on, and Jimmy and I hope to go live right around the time he's going to be committing. And I think we'd be crazy not to talk about the Brendan Sorsby thing, so we'll get to that later. But for now, the moment belongs to the baseball team. Congratulations. Man, you know, it's so funny. I very famously don't love baseball, but I found myself watching the super regionals, like the ones like Oklahoma and Kansas, like you'd think, or Texas, Oregon. I was watching that last night, and it was kind of fun. I think ESPN has done a good job of trying to turn the baseball tournament into somewhat as much as it can of the basketball tournament. It can't duplicate the basketball tournament, but they've gotten it to where it can about the best it can be, if you ask me. And the environments have been crazy, and Alabama's has been fantastic. I hate the fact, Jimmy, that it got delayed last night, and so it had the celebration had to be put off. But you were there. What was the atmosphere like today?
It was highly unique, and I've been going to Alabama sports my whole life, and it was definitely the most unique moments I've ever been in the Joe before. It was really cool. Obviously, there was a massive crowd Saturday night. The Sunday crowd was very big, but it could have been more full, but there was the threat of significant rain, and that's going to affect things, period. And that's why I don't believe every single seat was accounted for, but it was a huge crowd for the Joe, a huge crowd. Obviously, then the rain came and people just left and petered out. Back at 11 today, I would say it was a better crowd than a normal SEC baseball game. Frankly, if it was better than a normal Friday, Saturday crowd there, it wasn't anywhere sold out. But it was a good crowd today for just 2 innings of baseball, a really cool environment. What I want to give a special shout out to, because it's kind of cool for us in a stadium that's not full. The football team is started their 4th quarter summer conditioning program today. So that's going on. So it's kind of hard to find a place to park because the entire football team had parked outside the baseball stadium. So the whole football team was there right when the game started. Coach DeBoer, Kane Womack was there. Jeff Allen was there. Greg Byrne, of course, was there. And then in March is about, 20 or 30 football players. I can name them: Lottie Brooks, Derek Meadows, Caleb Edwards. I mean, so many, but 20 or 30 football players in their 4th quarter conditioning shirts, sweaty, because they've been working out all morning. This was a little break they were getting because Coach DeBoer was over there too watching. It was cool that 20 or 30 football players filed in there to watch the baseball team win and celebrate. And then the celebration itself was fantastic. So what a great moment. Rob Vaughn delivering Omaha in year 3. What do we say to Greg Byrne when this comes up with Nate Oates? Pay that man. I mean, he's earned this extension and raise, and now it's Alabama history. First time in 27 years, Alabama has made it to the College World Series. One last thing I'll say. Is it a coincidence or not that because of the lottery stuff and other factors, Alabama's been disadvantaged because of the House settlement? Everyone is on a level playing field now in college baseball, and just like that, Alabama's in the World Series. I don't find that a coincidence myself. Now, others may disagree, but it's not a coincidence. Once Alabama got a level playing field, 3 years later, they're in the World Series.
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess if I wanted to take the other side, I'd say, well, I think the Hope Scholarship and things like that at Georgia, they still factor in because that's taken care of. Now the money they get is on top of that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, there might be I'll say the playing field is closer to level
it's certainly closer.
Now that there's a roster, everyone's got the same number of scholarships. Alabama can offer up to 35 scholarships, full scholarships. That the scholarship stuff. Now, obviously, Alabama NIL doesn't measure up to, like, let's say, for instance, LSU's. But guess who wasn't even in the postseason? Proof that money helps, but it guarantees nothing in any of these sports. Football, baseball, money is important, but it guarantees nothing.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. And we've seen. I mean, shoot, all you got to do is look back at Texas A&M, their recruiting class that was very famous for spending a ton of money.
How about this? People, when I say this, some of y'all are going to disagree. This is a fact. Some of y'all just say that can't be true. That's about Alabama football in 2026 will have a much higher overall compensated payroll than Indiana did in 2025. Much higher. Much higher. Does that guarantee that Alabama's going to do the same thing Indiana did last year? No, not even close. Now, Indiana in 2026 probably has a higher payroll than Alabama in 2026. But that Indiana team that won the national championship last year, my understanding is around 15 million. And I think Alabama was well over 20 per Nick Saban's own words.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, there are always a lot of factors that go into stuff like that. Now, Alabama, it looks like they will play Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Oklahoma
they are up 13-2 right now in Kansas.
That game will be at 2:00 on Saturday, by the way.
Yep. And Oklahoma, Alabama have played 3 times this year. Alabama at Oklahoma, by the way. Alabama won 10-7, lost 2-4, and won 3-2. So very tight games, very competitive games. And Oklahoma's about as hot as you can be coming in. Now, we are too. But Oklahoma's a good squad. Don't think just because Oklahoma is not, a super regional host or a national seed that they're really going to be a rollover. They're not going to roll over at all. So it's going to be a tough game. But, I got to say, I want to go back to Greg Byrne for a second. I saw a list somebody put out the other day of top 10 athletic directors in the country, and Greg Byrne wasn't on it. And I think that discredits the list, disqualifies the list immediately. Because Alabama went to the playoffs. They went to the quarterfinals. The basketball team went to the Sweet 16. The women's basketball team went to the round of 32. The softball team was essentially in the Final Four. The baseball team is in Omaha. We had at least an individual golfer finish runner-up nationally.
Gymnastics tanked. They tanked in the postseason. They fell flat on their face in the postseason, to be honest. But they were ranked in the top 4 most of the regular season. So they did have a really good team and a great year. They just didn't put it together when they needed to at the end. But that was a great year, great team. She's recruiting like gangbusters. I don't know that any sport on campus is recruiting any better than gymnastics is in the last cycle or two. So
in the end, I mean, and you have this baseball thing on top of it, like you said. And not only that, he's doing all this at a time when, quote unquote, the playing field's been leveled. And so, Greg Byrne is involved with trying to figure out exactly who gets what in what budget and how we make it happen. So I'm just saying, Greg Byrne is doing a marvelous, marvelous job at Alabama.
I'm trading him for nobody.
Yeah, there's not another athletic director I'd want. I'm not saying there aren't athletic directors as good.
Of course.
Think about who are you going to put up there? You're going to put Ohio State's athletic director? Yeah, they've got a great football team. Then what?
Yeah, some of the programs we would name have some advantages, let's say, that Alabama just simply does not have. Whether it's Texas or Oregon or Texas Tech or Texas A&M. I mean, they're just advantaged in a way that Alabama is not. But I also would push back on anybody that says, yeah, Alabama does more with less. Alabama's a winner in the NIL world. It frustrates people who are used to being number one because Alabama's not number one when it comes to, quote, NIL and resources. So that frustrates a lot of people. But Alabama's top 10 easily in terms of compensation. And I think the success of these other sports, Luke, shows, that rev share money that softball gets and gymnastics gets and baseball gets, I think that's going a long way towards making these teams so hyper competitive, and not everybody does that. Greg does a masterful job of handling these very complicated. When he became an athletic director, I don't think salary cap for players was something it was even on his radar. Now you have to master it to be successful, and it's a brand new concept to the whole industry.
Yeah, it's like if you were hired as the chef of a 5-star restaurant, and 6 months later they're like, we also need you to do some light brain surgery. And you just have
literally. That's a great analogy, because it's
So,
like literally true.
some light brain surgery. Not, you don't want to take the whole skull off, but you got to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Gonna
And
talk
for
a
your
little-
instructional guide, watch this movie, The Man with Two Brains. Do you remember that? Steve Martin?
No, I remember it. Do you remember what he injected the woman with he thought that was going to kill her? I think it was Windex that he tried to inject her with, that he thought, I don't know why Windex would do that. It scared me. I was scared of Windex for a while. Let me tell you what I'm not scared of, and that's Wayfair.
Wayfair.
Patio season is here, and there's nothing better than having an outdoor space that feels comfortable, functional, and gets used. Whether it's a backyard patio, balcony, or deck, the right setup can completely change how you spend your time at home. That's where Wayfair comes in when you're at home. From outdoor seating and patio lighting to grills, rugs, decor, storage, all that stuff, Wayfair is a one-stop shop for creating an outdoor space that fits your style and your budget. Plus, with over 20 million 5-star reviews and Wayfair verified products, it's easy to shop with confidence at Wayfair. You're going to love it. Look, if I were recommending one thing to a friend, it'd probably be a quality outdoor seating set. It makes all the difference. It's one of those purchases that instantly changes a space from looking unfinished to feeling like an actual space to relax and hang out. Patio season is here, and these deals won't last. Head to wayfair.com right now to get your outdoor space ready for less. That's FIR.com. WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. You know how to spell it. What do you need me for? Jimmy Stein guarantees it. He can spell it.
Good tagline would be like, what's the price of that sofa? Oh, it's Wayfair at Wayfair. How's that? Just came up with that.
Okay.
I tell you, we could do that. We could do that for a living.
You just lost guarantee status. Let me remind everybody to check out our Everydayer Club, LockedOnBama.supercast.com. You can go there. At one time, we were the biggest. We hadn't asked in a while because we don't need our egos fed. Jimmy and I aren't like big-headed about this. We're both kind of big-headed, but like physically, not by this. So we still think it's a great thing. So go check it out. $5 a month, $50 for the year. You can't beat it with a stick. You want to go join our Everydayer Club and have fun with us, that's what you want to do. Go do it. Tai Phillips.
Yep.
Football player extraordinaire.
Mm-hmm.
He is, by the way, before I get into Tai Phillips, I saw that Luke Cody is apparently, I guess on 24/7. I'll confirm. But I think it was Brett Greenberg that called him a 5-star kicker.
Oh, I think true and not true. He is a 5-star kicker. I think that's a status bestowed on him by the Coles kicking camp people, and not the 24/7 industry rank. So he is a 5-star Coles kicking school. And by the way, Coles is where all the big programs go. They call up Cole and say, we need a kicker. Who you got? They all do this. Now, Alabama does that, and they use Cole, and they use some other things, and regular old scouting. Then they bring a bunch of kids to camp, and then they say, pressure's on for everybody, earn this offer. And this kid did. And I'm excited to have him. And it's so interesting in this age of 105 that you better have a few kickers. I mean, people say, well, Alabama's got 2 kickers. What happens if Lorcan Quinn and Connor Talty, knocking on wood, what happens if I don't know, they're hanging, they're renting the same house and they're hanging electrical lighting like the Griswolds in Christmas Vacation, and they're up there and they're hanging all this stuff and they both fall off the ladder. Then what are you going to do? Both kickers are out because of a ladder issue and a Christmas light issue. Point is, you can move a defensive lineman to offensive lineman. You can move a DB to running back. You can't move a kid on the team to kicker. And the rosters are now capped at 105 about 30 guys shorter than they used to be. So you have to have multiple kickers because one or two could get hurt. So that's what makes this fascinating.
So his being a 5-star, like at the 5-star camp, what was that kid's name that went to LSU? The coldest Richardson or whatever. So people go, who's that? He's the coldest. Like, how do you know that? Who ranked him? He's just the coldest. That's him.
His name.
It's his name. So Tai Phillips commits today.
And if I told you, Luke, we signed Luke Cody from Texas, you would say, as a bull rider? He sounds like a bull rider.
Or 5-star bull rider.
Yeah, he does sound like a rodeo dude. And he's from Texas. It's the most Texas name possible.
So Tai Phillips commits today at 5. We hope to go live right when it happens. Running back, Alabama had some guys in this weekend. Got a couple of commitments out of it. And Tai Phillips should be a guy that will pledge to Bama this afternoon, correct?
Lob blocked.
He is lob blocked.
And I love Tai.
Are you worried at all? There'll be some people because, look, there have been a rash of commitments for other teams like Kentucky. Texas A&M is absolutely knocking it out of the ballpark. I mean, they're just recruiting on another level right now. They're recruiting at Saban-level right now. Texas, of course, being Texas. Auburn's even picked it up some. They've gotten a nice little flurry of commitments. They got Reed Ramsler today. I'm not. Under normal circumstances, I would be. I'm not real worried about this. Like, hey, we don't, all we got is Elijah Haven, then a bunch of guys that, people have varying opinions about. Like LSU got KJ Green this weekend that we thought Alabama would get at one point. Yeah, at one point. But, I'm not panicking in the least. Number one, because I saw what happened last year when everybody was hot, pointing their nose and doing Nelson Muntz at Alabama. When, did I say pointing their nose?
Well, doesn't Nelson Muntz point a finger at his own nose when he's doing the thing that he does? I think that's where you're getting that from. He points a finger at his own nose and then points at whoever he's mocking and does the mocking. Well,
we got mocked, and I think we're getting mocked again, and so be it. But look, we do have the number one quarterback in the country. That's not nothing. We're in on some pretty big heavyweights. I
think we're going to sign Sales or Gales, which will be a big deal. I would say one of the two. I feel really good about Sales or Gales. That's going to be a big dog for sure.
Well, we'll talk more about Tai Phillips this afternoon. I just wonder because, this is a 3/4-star. He's not going to move the meter rankings-wise very much. You and I both love him. In fact, we may want him more than any running back Alabama's in on.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's not going to – for the casual recruitnik, he's not going to be like, oh, my God, guess who we got today?
People that only look at the rankings to determine stars to determine whether you're recruiting well or whether a prospect is worth it. They're laughing at Alabama, even Alabama fans. But I would implore people and don't say, hey, this is sour grapes because, did you say this when you were number one in recruiting? Yes, I did, actually. You can go too far with just relying on the stars. For instance, I'm just saying myself, Nigel Newkirk's number 6 running back in the country per Rivals. I like Tai Phillips. I like Tai Phillips as much or even more. Now, that may prove wrong because evaluation is in the eye of the beholder. But I've said that all along. And I do like most of the kids that have signed with Alabama. I have an explanation for why this class is going to be smaller and less expensive than previous classes. Unfortunately, I think it would take almost an entire segment to explain it. So we're going to do that soon, maybe even later today with the Tai Phillips thing. But I have an explanation. Some will buy it. Some will just say that's spin. No, I'm trying to tell y'all what is exactly happening. But yeah, I do have an explanation for it, and it's mostly good. These guys didn't forget how to recruit, and they're still a top 10 spender in the sport. There's a reason that all this is happening. It's not because all of a sudden they can't sign anybody or all of a sudden they don't have any money. Neither one of those things is remotely true.
Yeah. All right. We're going to talk about Jimmy's roster countdown here in just a second. We're also going to talk about this Sorsby thing. Roster countdown, Jimmy, where you at?
We are now 58 days until fall practice starts. And again, it was delicious for me watching baseball. I'm watching baseball, see the full player parking lot. It is stacked. And then players marching in with their fourth quarter program shirts on. And they've been working. And it really felt like football season a little bit today. Now just 58 days from the start of fall camp. Number 58 on the roster ranking is a very interesting cat, wide receiver Tyler Henderson. He is a recent signee out of the JUCO ranks. He was the most productive junior college wide receiver in the country, was available late. Alabama kind of took him from Kennesaw. We are describing these type players here on this show as 105 guys, which means they're signed to fill out the 105. They're fully on scholarship, but probably not getting either a very small or zero rev share, quote, NIL money. You're just filling out the 105. The great programs, the smart programs, the best programs will find 105 guys who actually develop into frontline guys. And Tyler Henderson might be one of those guys. With the Noah Rogers injury, Luke, I look at Alabama's first team rotation like this, and I bet you do too. Ryan Coleman-Williams, number 1. Lottie Brooks, number 2. For right now, I'm going to say Cedarian Morgan, number 3. But he's fighting off Rico Scott at 4 and Derek Meadows at 5. But I am very comfortable in saying those 5 guys will be part of the first team rotation at Alabama. Well, you lost Noah Rogers. He was going to actually be in there somewhere and be a 6-man first team rotation. Well, you've lost Noah Rogers probably for most of or even all of the season. I think that's fair. That's what you have to assume. So is there going to be a 6th guy in the first team rotation? If it is, my money's on Tyler Henderson, which is why he's here at 58. And I shouldn't say my money's on Tyler Henderson before we do the Sorsby segment. We'll do that later. But Tyler Henderson, I think, would be the 6th guy. Now, how often does the 6th guy play? I'll just throw this out there. We threw the ball quite a bit last year, right? We couldn't run it, so we threw it a lot. Last year's number 6 wide receiver was Cole Adams. He caught 6 balls all year. He caught 6 balls. So your number 6 receiver is really not a guy who's going to be a volume pass catcher anyway. But as we all know, Cole Adams played quite a bit. We saw him out there, and he did catch balls with the ones against good opponents. So I think Tyler Henderson, sort of as that Cole Adams 6th receiver for now, is kind of where he'd fit. So I kind of expect to see him with the ones. But that's a projection on my part. But we have him here at 58 because I don't think he'll be top 5. Those top 5 guys are ranked much higher in this roster ranking, and they're all going to be significant players. I saw Derek Meadows today. He was one of the few guys. I saw Lottie Brooks today. I saw both of those guys at the baseball stadium.
By the way, I do appreciate the way that there were basketball dudes and football dudes everybody at the baseball. I really appreciate their showing up and supporting the other athletes. So Sorsby, Jimmy, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. We're at Mansfield, Ohio. Actually, my company was restoring and installing a fountain today in Mansfield, Ohio, and so I really wasn't on top of my game in terms of Twitter today, and so I just casually checked Twitter. I don't know, like 11 o'clock or something, and it's like Brendan Sorsby ruled eligible by a judge, injunction, and blah blah blah, all these legal terms. It's got to be some of the worst news in college sports in years. This may do it. And
this is rock bottom.
If it does do it, then I can look back and say maybe this was a net positive, because this is just awful. First of all, the first thing that bugs me to no end, I was at the Alabama-Tennessee game in Tuscaloosa where some Tennessee jackass, some young little turd, was behind me. And he just kept saying, when Bediako came in, "You're ruining college basketball." And I was like, yeah, what about your 55-year-old Euro pro that just came?
Yep.
He's not doing anything. So Charles Bediako has been the only loser in this whole thing. He's the only one that he hadn't been able to find a way to scoot around this rule. Everybody else can. I know I'm reaching, but
I know what you're saying. I know the frustration.
The frustration is real, because honestly, I don't think Charles Bediako should have been eligible. I don't think these Euro pros should be eligible. I dang sure don't think Brendan. But all that aside, Brendan Sorsby, he bet on his own games. I don't care if he wasn't playing at the time. I don't care if he wasn't a big factor in the game. I don't care about any of that. This was the one thing you cannot do. You cannot do this, because what it does is it erodes the confidence in the fans about the legitimacy of the sport. And it's the end. It's the end of all of it. And I hope this judge, who is a Texas Tech judge, apparently, I hope this judge.
I don't know if he is or not, but
Well,
I don't believe he is. He's in Texas. Yeah. I think the original judge recused himself, so they appointed this judge. He came from Fort Worth, and I don't think he's a Texas Tech guy, but regardless, he's a Texas guy, and he had to issue the ruling in Lubbock, in a county 100% Texas Tech fans and Texas Tech oil money and all the other things. Judges have to campaign for their jobs, by the way, so they take campaign money and everything else like that.
That's another thing that's wrong. That's another thing that's wrong, that you base your decision on whether or not you will be reelected. That's screwed up.
I know. And I'm not saying that this particular judge did that in this particular case, but I'm saying it's a risk you run when you have a system where judges are elected as opposed to lifetime appointments, which brings up its own can of worms. But I personally prefer it to electing judges. That's just myself, speaking for myself there. One thing I have a lot to say about Sorsby. We'll do that over several shows because there's only limited time. But I want to bring everybody back to a point that we've forgotten because so much moves so fast. You know who else shouldn't have played college football last season that we saw play football? Who shouldn't have been allowed to play? Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia went to a local judge who got him to rule that a season he spent at junior college, which has forever been counted in the sport. This has been a forever rule. No, we're not going to count that year you spent at junior college. The NCAA had to come back and say, okay, for all players in Pavia's class that went to junior college, for this one class of players, we have to determine that you guys can play another year too. And that's why Justin Jefferson, for instance, got to play because of the Pavia ruling. But Diego Pavia shouldn't have been playing college football last year. But you know why there was no outcry? Because people like Pavia. And it's Vanderbilt, or people like Pavia at the time. and it's Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt was a fun story, and Pavia was a fun story. No, that's why we call it a slippery slope. When judges say, hey, what y'all have been doing at the NCAA for years in terms of eligibility, we're throwing it out. We're throwing it out. I know this is the way you ruled, and this is the way it's always been, but we're throwing it out. And you see where that slippery slope has got us. Now you got judges saying, oh, betting on a game that your team's involved in? No problem. No problem. I'm sure Pete Rose right now is saying, boy, where was this guy when I got banned even for years after my death? You know, what damage that judge has done is terrible. But what damage all of us have done. We all should have been outraged over the Pavia thing, because judges should not be able to upend the NCAA's ruling on eligibility of players. That extends to Bediako, but the NCAA, a lot of this is their fault because they've also granted eligibility to these European basketball pros like Lucas talking about. They shouldn't have done that either. I think they know they shouldn't have done it, which is why they're trying to roll back their own rulings, because now they're like, boy, we got to come up with a new eligibility rule because we screwed this up. Well, yeah, you did. And that's why Bediako should have been playing, by the way, because the NCAA screwed it up. Not Charles, not Alabama. The NCAA screwed it up.
Agreed.
But anyway, we've looked the other way too long because we applaud some rulings and not others. But the fact of the matter is the NCAA should decide who is eligible and who is not a judge.
If I were the NCAA, I say this like not knowing about all the money and intricacy. If I were them, I'd just say, oh, y'all do whatever the heck y'all want to. Or I'd take another stance. I'd go, okay, yeah, you can play. But you know what? If he plays, Texas Tech's games don't count. They just don't. I don't know if you can do that. But I'm saying you have to do something.
Yeah, there's rules about when entities do something to disregard a court ruling, which would be punishing Texas Tech because this injunction is granted. It was just like why the NCAA couldn't not count those games Bediako played in. They had to. He was there legally, and Alabama can't be punished because Bediako was eligible for 5 games. Same
And I
concept here.
understand that.
But there can be ways that you can punish Texas Tech. For instance, don't schedule them. Don't schedule them.
That's what I'm sort of hoping for, is that some of these teams, because Texas Tech also is just, flipped the bird to everybody going, yeah, and we're going to suspend him for the first 2 games. And I think we play the University of the Downtrodden and, atheist state, or so.
Elderly A&M.
Yeah, we play the local Humane Society of Abused Animals. And it's just, and they said they're going to suspend him for those 2 games. I wish Texas would go ahead and schedule them and say, yeah, we'll play you right now without Sorsby. How about that? I wish Texas would do. I'm just telling you, they have gone. Look, I know a lot of people hated Alabama for the Bediako thing. Yeah. And I went on record saying, hey, I say play him because there are no rules. But at the same time, I also said
this is a different rule.
At the same time, I also said, hey, I don't think he really should be playing. Don't blame us for trying it. I get it but in my perfect world, Bediako's not eligible, no doubt about it. And dang sure Brendan Sorsby's not eligible. It's so stupid. And I don't understand why. I'll go back to what I said earlier. Maybe this will lead to a breakaway.
I would tell that.
Top 40 team.
I think it might.
I want him to.
You sometimes have to hit rock bottom before it's fixed. This might get the SEC and the Big Ten and Senator Cruz and everybody in one room to end this, and that Congress can end it, but with antitrust provisions, they can end this. And this might be the thing that gets everybody together saying, hey, we're not going to agree to all parts of this bill or all parts of the new law, but we all have to do something about this because it's wrecking us. And to that judge, the judge ruled, by not granting Sorsby his eligibility, it would do irreparable harm to Sorsby. Yeah, you've irreparably harmed sport itself.
And Jimmy,
not just college football. Sports has been irreparably harmed today.
I wanted to make that point one more time. I understand Brendan Sorsby, and I understand, I understand what he's trying. I understand. I'm not mad at him for trying this. Just like I wasn't mad at Bediako for trying it. But to do it, you're basically, well, he's a gambleaholic, and he's okay. I'm sorry that he's gambleaholic. I'm glad he's getting treatment. I think
treatment and go play in the NFL. No one's keeping you out of the NFL. No one's keeping you out of the NFL. He'd be a second or third round pick in the supplemental draft.
Number 2, I can hear some people who are just incredibly individual rights. Yeah, well, he's got a sickness. You should forgive it. Hey, people got all kind of maladies.
Those same people that say he's a sickness that should be forgiven. What was their stance when Alabama baseball coach Brad Bohannon was suspended from college baseball for life over gambling?
Oh, that's a good point.
What did they say when the Alabama baseball coach was suspended from college baseball forever for gambling in a game or being associated with gambling on a game that Alabama was involved with? He got suspended for, and Alabama was creamed by the media. When Alabama found out about it, they immediately fired him and have not fought on his behalf for any 1 inch. Instead, and that's just people being hypocritical about Alabama. But what happened to Brad Bohannon and the ruling? Completely fair. That's what should have been the ruling. Yeah, Sorsby never should have played college sports again. Never should have played 1 down of college sports again. And for those that feel bad for the kid, I do too. I hope his treatment goes well, and I wish him all the luck in the world in the NFL, where as far as I'm concerned, he would have a clean slate, starting all over again, fresh start, second chance, because he does deserve that, but not in college football.
No, not in college. Just not in college. It's so easy. You can't do this.
Yep.
Anyway. All right. That's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow more. Until then,
we'll be back at 5 o'clock.
We'll be back at 5 o'clock. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.